What's up, you guys? It's your boy Pretty Boy Floyd. In today's video, I want to talk about how modeling is a sport and how I made the connection with that. And I hope this can help some of you guys out who are like maybe getting into modeling. But what made me think about this first was I was watching a Kobe Bryant interview, and Kobe was talking about how when he would practice basketball, he would watch films of Michael Jordan and like try to pull off the same moves as Michael Jordan. And whenever Kobe tried to do it, he realized that he couldn't pull off, the moves like Michael did. It would never look as good. His body and Michael's body was just different. It just didn't, work that way. So instead of Kobe like trying to pull off Michael's moves, during the process of him trying to look like Michael and try to imitate Michael, he found his own unique moves. Like he made his own moves. He would try to, do certain crossovers that Michael would do. Kobe would try to do the same thing, but it wouldn't look right. And instead, he worked with his body type and he worked with his attributes and he made it his own moves. Kobe made it his own crossover moves. So when it comes to modeling, a lot of times I will grab inspo from magazines. I will look at other models from magazines of different facial structures, different body types, different ethnicities, different this, different that. I will try to pull off the same poses. Sometimes I can pull them off just like they did, but sometimes I can't. And what I have to do is I have to play, within that space. And when I play within that space, I start to find my own poses. I can think of a couple of examples. Right now, but yeah, that's the number one. Is that you see, the journey of an artist starts out by imitating something and then emulating it and then innovating it. So imitate is like you're trying to be like somebody else, and ain't nothing wrong with that. Like, this is how you learn. And then in the process of imitating it, then you emulate. Emulating meaning that now you're trying to get into the mind of the creator and in the mind of the artist. And as you're doing that, it's like you're finding yourself within that. A lot of musicians do this too. And again, it's synonymous with sports as well. And then in the process of you trying to emulate that person, you find yourself, which is innovate. So a lot of times musicians will go through a period where they imitate, they learn how to play an instrument, then they try to, play like somebody else, they try to play certain songs by their favorite artists, and as they're doing that, they start to figure out that they can't necessarily play it like the artist, originally did, or they don't sound like the artist that, they're originally trying to imitate. And in that process, you start to innovate, you start to find your own sound. Same thing when it comes to modeling. You are imitating, then emulating, then innovating. So like I said, you play within that space, whatever pose you're trying to reference off of. You then realize that I don't have the same facial structure as this guy, or I don't have, the same ethnicity, I don't have the same body type. So you just start, playing within that space, and that's how you find, yourself within that. So for those of you guys that don't know, I played baseball when I was younger. This was like my favorite sport. I used to play football, baseball, basketball, volleyball, track. I used to do like long jump and triple jump in track. But I was a very athletic person. I've always been into athletics. I've always played sports. Now, but with baseball, I fell in love with it. I think the number one reason why I fell in love with it was just because I'm a natural athlete, but when it came to baseball, everything just felt natural. This is what I felt like, who I was, I fell in love with it. The one thing though about me in sports was that like, I never watched sports. I never watch, people play, or like watch, the NFL or the MLB. I never watched it. I don't know why. It was just always boring to watch. I'd rather just play. So I was pretty good at baseball. I was solid at baseball. That's how everybody kind of knew me, as a good baseball player. The fastest, guy at one point. But and I played center field. But for some reason, when I got into high school, right, it was like I tried out for the junior varsity team like twice and got cut twice. And it really, that really hurt me back when I was younger, just because it was just like, this is what I wanted to be, this is what I wanted to do. I felt like, I was good enough. I was trying to practice as much as I could. The thing with baseball, it's not like basketball, and it's not really like football when it comes to like practicing. Those two things you can kind of practice on your own. But when it came to baseball, it almost felt like I needed somebody else, like to practice with. I could throw the ball in the air and hit it with a baseball bat or whatever. And then like when it comes to like throwing, I can't really practice that. I didn't grow up with anybody, any parents that like, played sports or were like athletes themselves. So I don't want to get too deep into my whole parental situation, but just know like it made it really hard for me to like practice baseball. I wanted to practice baseball like as much as I possibly could. So like I would go out, I would literally throw the ball to myself. Like I would throw it as high as I could in the air and like run to the other side and just like catch it like it was a fly ball. Like I would literally try to throw it, in a reasonable distance and like try to run it down like it was a pop fly. I even bought like this net that I would like throw the baseball in, and like I would like set it up like super far as I thought like home plate was, and I would like try to see how good my arm was. But all in all, it was just like I was just doing all this myself. And once I had got cut from JV, I was telling my mom this and stuff like that. And when I would ask the coaches why I got cut, they would say it was because my mechanics with baseball. It's weird. And if you guys have ever seen the movie Moneyball, it's like they choose players off the way that they throw the ball and they hit the ball. They choose them off of like the way they like it, like aesthetically. Like it's funny, like even aesthetics go into baseball too. Like if somebody like pitches funny, they're like, now like how he pitches funny, this, that, and the third, blah blah blah. And the whole premise behind the movie Moneyball was that like these franchises and these teams wouldn't choose these players because they threw the ball funny or they batted funny. But the guy, like the nerdy geeky guy or whatever, who's played by Jonah Hill, would be like, well, look at the numbers. Like these guys are consistent with their numbers, even though they throw the ball funny. And I'm sorry about the lighting, fucking sun. But even though that they would throw the ball funny, they would still like, be consistent with their numbers. So the whole premise of the video, or the whole premise of the movie, was that he used numbers in order to choose his players to make like the ultimate team. So I don't want to go too deep into that movie or whatever, but I realized that okay, because I threw the baseball funny. I batted funny. Like I had a whole like style to me, but it would work. Like naturally, it just would work. But the thing with baseball is just like if you don't bat like everybody else, if you don't throw the ball like everybody else, they think that like you're not a good like pitcher. They think that you're not a good outfielder. They think that you're not like even when it comes to way like that you catch something, it's crazy. And that's the big thing with baseball mechanics. So when I told my mom that and I told her feedback, from the coach or whatever, shortly after that, the movie Moneyball came, and I remember my brother being like, man, I feel like this is you, or, and I just remembered, really feeling the connection to that movie just because it was just like, oh my God, I feel the same way. Like, I feel like just because I'm not doing things the way that they're meant to look like, I'm like being like, what's the word for it? Like I'm being overlooked, But anyways, that year we decided to invest into a batting coach, and I remember this guy. He was maybe like $60 like per session, but I would only go to him like once a week, and he would literally like take videos of me. He would like film me, and then like we would go watch it, and he would like take his like iPad or tablet, whatever he had, and would kind of like mark it, and he was a former, I think, minor league baseball player. So a lot of people knew him. My mom knew of him, like from friends and stuff, because she was asking around for me. And that actually really helped, because the next year I actually got on JV. The first year was because I was in 8th grade, and I think they could only allow like 2 8th graders. And then the second time I was a freshman and I got cut, but my sophomore year I finally made it like to my JV baseball team. But when I had made it to my JV baseball team in the 10th grade, for some reason I just remember playing it, but I just remember getting bored of it. And I remembered like I felt like I didn't want to do this anymore. And I feel like the main reason why is because I felt behind. Like I felt like other kids were getting better than me. I remember my mom saying like, you know, when you used to play baseball, like I remembered you were always the fastest kid. Like not only on the team, but just like around like the county. Like everybody would just know me as like fast, you know. And I remembered on my JV team, there was this one kid that was like faster than me. Like it was just weird because I was just like, yo, how does somebody, I remember like feeling like, how is somebody faster than me, you know? And my mom was even in shock too. And, you know, and I had felt like I was kind of being like outshined in a way. And I felt like somebody was better than me. But the reason why is just because like, here's what I'm getting at here is that my entire life, or like baseball life, you know, up until the time that I started when I was 8 years old to the time that I stopped when I was 16, was that I relied on my natural skill and my natural talent so much, and it got me, you know, so far. And I thought, you know, all I had to do was just, you know, keep on, you know, playing rec league and like, you know, keep, you know, going in the backyard and like trying to practice my arm or like, you know, do things like that. But when I had came to like, you know, getting my baseball coach, you know, back then when I was young, it was just like my mom would have to pay for it. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have a job. I didn't, you know, make enough money or, you know, things like that. And honestly, back then, I don't even blame myself because I wasn't even thinking this way. Like, I wasn't even thinking in a way to invest into like baseball coaches and he would also like help me out with like throwing and catching as well, because baseball, like I said, is all about mechanics, and the way like you look when you catch the ball, when you throw it, when you hit it, it's crazy. But what am I trying to say? And back then I honestly realized now that I wasn't getting enough coaching. I would only go once a week. The thing is, if I want to be really good at something, I'm going to have to go more than once a week. And yeah, I'm still going to have to like practice, you know? But on top of practice, I have to have time when I'm practicing, like, you know, after practices. Like I'm doing extra practice. That's the thing. And not only that, but like I would only play baseball, like say for like the springtime, and I would stop. I need to play baseball like year round. Like it doesn't need to like I mean, of course there should be some periods of rest or whatever, but like I should play baseball longer than 2-3 months out of the year. That's the thing. It should have been an all around thing. And honestly, like I just don't blame myself just because I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. It was like I didn't have a job, didn't make money. You know, and I'm not talking about just when I was like 16. Like I knew it was a problem that I wasn't practicing enough since I was, I want to say like in the 8th grade, like when I was like maybe like, how old was I? Maybe like 13 or so. Yeah, I think around 13 I was like, I need to practice more. I need to, you know, have extra practices. But the thing was, I just didn't have the resources back then. So fast forward to now, what I'm realizing with modeling is that now I have adult money and now I have, you know, a job that can supplement, you know, my dreams and what I want to do. And I remembered it had hit me when I had watched this baseball game on TV. And also like when I watched the Olympics, and every time that I watch sports now, it's so sad because the only reason why I like to watch sports now is because I feel like I should be them. I feel like I should be playing. and as like, you know, and it sounds sad because I've always wondered, like, why do people watch sports? Why are people, you know, watching sports? I always wanted to play sports, but now since it's over and it's done with, and now that I've stopped playing and I remember how good I was, and I remembered it just felt like I just stopped because I got bored. The reason why I stopped was because I got bored because I felt like I wasn't good anymore. Like whenever you play a game and whenever you play something, you get bored of it and you don't want to play anymore when you feel like you're losing all the time. That's what it feels like. And I don't blame my mom or anything like that because I think it's just I remember we talk about it all the time. We talk about it all the time about how, like, you know, if only we knew, you know, back then, you know, like just to invest in you more, like we probably would have. And, you know, and I think maybe she might be saying that now, but I think back then I do remember some resistance from her at first. I remembered she would be like, well, do you think all the other kids are doing that? Like, you know, like spending extra money, you know, doing this and that and blah, blah, blah. And I remembered a lot of times when I would say that I want to be a baseball player, I would, like, a lot of people would tell me, oh, you got to be really lucky to get there, you know, and everybody would just point it to luck. And the thing is, I'm not saying that that's not true. Like, oh my gosh, hell yeah, it's true. Life is a lottery. There's going to be a lot of lucky people, you know, that have what you want just like that and have to put in half the amount of effort just because of, you know, the way that the world works. Just like that's going to happen. But you need to realize really quickly that, like, not only are you not like them, but also when you put in the work, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work as hard. So yeah, you're going to have to spend a little bit of extra bread, but eventually you're going to surpass that person who thinks that their natural talent can take them to, you know, to a higher place. At some point, man, natural talent can only take you so far. You know, I'm an athlete naturally, but I do need coaching and I do need training. You know, and I remember she would tell me, she would be like, what about all those other people? You telling me all those other people who like come from the ghetto and come from these like low income families, you telling me that they pay for coaching and stuff like that? And it's just like, no, like, you know, I don't think so. No. But like, you know, again, like some people are lucky, you know what I'm saying? But you shouldn't feel bad for, you know, getting what you want if you have to pay for extra coaching or if you have to pay for, you know, mentors or teachers or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Because that's an investment for the future. If you're going to be a Major League Baseball player, you spending, you know, say like $200 a week on coaching, it's not going to seem like anything once you make those millions of dollars. You know, you're going to look back at that like, man, I could spend like $10,000 a week right now on coaching and shit. You know, I mean, that's just a random ass number, but you know what I mean? It's just going to seem so small that you even like, you know, made such a big deal about $200 a week on coaching or something like that. And don't think that I'm saying $200 a week like that's, I'm just calculating that, you know, I think it was like $60 a session or something like that. But you know what I'm saying? What would that be, like 4 times a week, you know, for $200 a week? But you know what I'm saying? It's just like, it's just that investment that you have to make. Yeah, there are some people who are lucky. There are some people who, oh my God, there is a lot of people who are lucky in modeling who just come at it like that. They don't have to pay for any procedures. They don't have to pay for any skincare products. They don't have to, you know, pay for anything, and they'll just get it like that, you know, and the ROI is instant for them. That's luck. That's lottery. Okay, so what? You know, you just have to work harder. That's all that is. And guess what? When you work harder, you learn more. You know, so when you're working harder and you learn more, and versus those guys who just have it naturally, like, you're going to be light years ahead of them. So when they hit a wall, when their natural talent only takes them so far, and when they're really high up, it's going to hit them really hard. Like, reality's going to hit them really hard that, like, oh my gosh, like, my natural talent, like, is not going to take me any further. This is, like, where I stop. And then when you stop and you keep on doing the same things, then you start to decline. So, like, when it comes to modeling, I'm investing in myself. I don't want the same thing to happen to me with baseball. That's why I spend so much, you know, and I don't want to say money, like it's going nowhere, but I invest in myself so much with this modeling thing, you have no idea, just because of, you know, what I've experienced with baseball. I don't want that to happen again. I don't want to, you know, look at magazines and be like, damn, that could have been me. You know, same thing when I'm doing with baseball and with football. Only reason why I'm watching those people play is because I feel like I should be them. I'm not letting that happen again. It's a shitty feeling. It's a very shitty feeling. And again, I just, you know, I didn't know. You know, and you know, my mom, she doesn't know either. You know, she's not an athlete herself. She played sports before, she played track and stuff, but again, she relied on her natural abilities with that. So I think it was just, you know, the mindset, you know. It was just like, when a student is ready, the teacher will appear. I think at that time when I was facing a lot of resistance, I should have sought a teacher. I should have sought, you know, things to invest in myself again. I needed to do more coaching. I needed to play baseball year round. I needed to practice after practice. And with this whole modeling thing, when I'm doing these cosmetic procedures, when I'm investing in skincare, and like my mom, she jokes about me. She's just like, you have literally spent as much money as you would on a car on your face. And I mean, honestly, that's true, you know. But it's just like, I know, like, why I'm doing this is because I'm learning the behind the scenes. I'm learning, you know, what makes a model and like what makes them aesthetically, you know, attractive, or like what makes it work. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just trying to figure it out. And honestly, the more investments that I do, even if the investment is a failure, I look at it as a learning experience. I look at it as like I'm spending money on my education. Like whenever I try something and it doesn't work out, I'm like, okay, I know that doesn't work out. Why doesn't it work out? You know, even if I spend like $300 on something, like on like a skincare product or a procedure, and I feel like, you know, it did nothing, or maybe it might have made me worse, now I know. And it's something that like these people who naturally have these things, or, you know, things that are given to these people, will never understand. And so when I go into some shit, I'm going to bounce back way quicker than a person who's never had to go through some shit. So, so that's a little lesson for y'all, man. It's like, invest in yourself. Invest in yourself. Because the ROI will come back. You will see it come back. Trust me. So study film. Especially when you get up there in the big leagues, studying film is like a must. After the game, what do the coaches do with the players? They study film. Same thing what you do when you're modeling. Study those pictures. Study those pictures that you're taking. A lot of times you know when you don't look that good. I'm trying to tell you right now, you know when you don't look that good. You can just feel it. It's just, you can just feel it, man. You can just feel it like inside. And a lot of times you have to realize that that it's not the photographer. Sometimes it can just be you. Sometimes it is the photographer, sometimes it's not. But if you're like, if you keep on taking these pictures and you keep on feeling some type of way about them, that they're coming out bad, it's probably not the photographer, it's probably you. There's a lot of times where, you know, there's a lot of days where I'm taking pictures and I just feel like I just cannot hit anything. And this is true because, and sometimes this is your fault. I'm not saying it is all the time, but, you know, a good model can make a bad photographer look good. You know what I'm saying? But in a way, it kind of, you can kind of tell when that happens. You know what I'm saying? You could definitely tell when that happens, when like the photographer skill isn't as up there and the model's is way up there. And it can happen vice versa too. Like the photographer skill can be way up here and the model skills can be way down here. And, blah, 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 like stuff like that. And at the same time, it is a harmony. You know what I mean? A lot of times, it's not anybody's fault sometimes either. It's just that you just don't mesh well with that photographer, and it's, y'all just don't collaborate well because maybe y'all just have two different visions, or maybe his style and your style just don't, mesh well. But sometimes, man, when it is my fault and, and I'm studying how I'm looking, I'm asking myself, like, why don't I look that good today? Is my jawline not popping right now? Is my cheekbones not popping? Is my face looking a little fat? Is my body not looking right? Like, is my abs not popping out right? Things like that. And I have to be honest with myself about that, because that's the only way I'm going to get better, is when I critique myself. And the only way I can do that is just like, I have to study the photos that I take. I have to, like understand why the photo didn't come out that good. So with modeling, a lot of things happen, like in the how do I say this? Like pre-shoot. A lot of things happen pre-shoot. A lot of things happen, in preparation for the shoot. Like a big part of it is preparation. Only a little small part of it is actually shooting. Honestly, photo shoots generally last for about an hour. If it's just you and another photographer. If it's you and another brand, or things like that, of course that'll be longer. But I'm just talking about a photo shoot if it's just you, like individually, and it's just you and the photographer. Those generally last for about an hour. The more people that you try to drag along, of course it's going to increase the time. But when it comes to shooting, it's a very little part of the actual project. There's pre-shoot, how should I say? It's pre-shoot, there's intra-shoot, and then there's post-shoot. So pre-shoot, your preparation. Intra-shoot, the actual shoot, you're actually doing it. And then post-shoot, that's usually, the photographer's job, editing, here and there, and, trying to get you the final images and stuff like that. So Abraham Lincoln once said, if I had 8 hours to chop down a tree, I would take 6 of those hours and sharpen my axe. The most important part is preparation. You have to prepare yourself as much as you can. Whether that means to have mood boards in place, have all your outfits set, and most importantly, you need to be ready. You need to make sure that you're aesthetically pleasing. You need to make sure that you are at a healthy body fat percentage, that your weight is controlled, because if you eat too goddamn much, it's gonna go to your fucking face and it will show, trust me. So you have to, keep yourself at a lean body fat percentage. For me, for everybody that's different. What looks good on you might not look good on me, vice versa. What looks good on me may not look good on you. So you have to, like, your diet is very, very important when it comes to this. And honestly, the same thing with sports. When you realize that, like, the more weight that you gain, the harder it is to run. So yeah, a lot of times, man, when you're taking photos and you're looking at it and, like, the feeling of a bad photo, or like when you look bad. Sometimes you just look bad, and you have to try to fix it. And that's the only way that you're going to get better. It's going to happen. Inevitably, it will happen. I'm just telling you that right now. It happens to everybody. If somebody says, I've never taken a bad photo, they're fucking lying. I probably wouldn't even talk to them again. But, like, it is going to happen. But the thing is, when you prepare enough and you put in a lot of effort, so these things that I'm doing, so these things that I'm doing, the investments that I'm talking about, the cosmetic procedures, going to the gym, making sure that my diet is in check, all those things I'm doing to prepare myself and to be ready for a shoot, like, it's all an effort to make myself better. But all that effort is for me to be effortless when the shoot comes. You know what I'm saying? So like the harder I work to prepare myself for the shoot, the easier it will be on me. I remembered when I first started doing these cosmetic procedures, like, dog, like, it's just like, I felt like I just could not pull off a bad pose. You know what I'm saying? Like, everything just looked great, you know? And that's what happens, you know. I'm not going to say most of the time, but, you know, sometimes I do get those shoots that are like that. But the thing is, I want to be more consistent with those shoots, and I'm trying to keep it real with y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes I have bad shoots, sometimes I have good shoots. You know, the bad shoots are just like, probably like a, I don't know. It's like if I had to take a percentage of like how many photos are actually usable, it'd probably be like maybe like 60%. But like a really good photo shoot is like 80-90% of the photos. I'm just like, hell yeah, yeah, all those hit. You know what I'm saying? And you know, you have to kind of deal with that. You know, and the only thing is that you can ask yourself is, what could I do better? What can I do better? What could I have done better? You know, and that's like the mindset of a cleaner. I remember reading this book called Relentless, and it would talk about how, you know, there's different types of athletes, and the cleaner is the one. He doesn't care if he won the Super Bowl. He doesn't care if he just won a championship. He doesn't care if he just won the game. All he cares about is, what did he do wrong? What did he do wrong? What can he do better? You know, and you know that can be a problem, but you do need to have that mindset of just like, what can I do better? You know, what happened this time? You know, that like the photos didn't come out that good. You know, I know a lot of you guys probably take photos and, you know, you look back, you like, even like the simplest of photos, like taking photos with friends or whatever, and you look back and you're just like, I don't like that. You know, sometimes it is just you. Sometimes you just gotta be like, damn, well, maybe I gotta get a little bit more better looking, you know? And yeah, with this whole thing, man. So to touch on the whole dieting thing again, I am the leanest I've ever been. I am the strongest I've ever been. I have, you know, the most muscle I've ever had before. And that's because I've gotten into modeling. Because I don't just look like an athlete, I train like one too. You know, and I feel like I'm fasted. Like, I feel like I'm faster than I was when I was younger too. I can't bring my past self over here, but I'm pretty damn sure I'm faster than I was when I was younger. And for anybody that tells you like the older you get, like the worse you get, nah, bro, trust me, bro. Nah, hell nah. Hell nah, hell nah. That's not true. Trust me, that's not true. It's just, people just give up. People give up like really quick. People give into life stresses really quick. People give up like really, like, I don't want to say easily, but there's definitely an excuse for you to stay the same. But when it comes to dieting, if I didn't get into modeling, I would not pay attention to my body fat percentage, and I would not, you know, choose the right foods. And if I was to eat like how I was in high school, like in high school, bro, I ate anything. But I mean, I would stay skinny just because, you know, I played a lot of sports all day. I was, you know, athletic. My metabolism was high because of that. Remember, your metabolism is only high when you're younger and you're playing sports, is because you're moving a lot more, you know, and also because, you know, you're in your adolescence, your body is still growing, things like that. That's the only reason why you were so skinny when you were younger, is because you played more sports and, like, you know, you moved around a lot. Now, since you're older, you're probably sitting down, you're not doing as much, you know. So yeah, when it came to dieting, paid attention to it, got my body fat percentage down low. I feel more light on my feet. I feel more athletic because I'm fueling my body with more nutritious foods, more foods that actually like fill me, instead of, you know, foods that like right after I eat them, I feel like I want to eat more, like things like candy and stuff like that. I mean, trust me, I still eat candy. All right, don't get me wrong, I still eat candy, just not as much as I used to. So I don't eat foods that make me feel lethargic, like I just want to, like, you know, take a nap. Like, well, I don't eat foods like that as often. I still do, trust me. All right, I'm an 80-20 kind of guy, like 80% nutritious foods, 20%, you know, junk foods or whatever. It's all in moderation, you know. But trust me, I'm not some like super strict, hardcore, like, nah, I only eat vegetables and, you know, this or that, or I'm full vegan because of health. Nah, fuck no. I'm not. No, hell no. Hell no. It's unnecessary. So yeah. So yeah, diet, really big part of athletes, and it's also a really big part of modeling too. Like, being an athlete, if you are not paying attention to your diet, then you need to. I'm telling you right now, once you start to lose the body fat, like, you will become faster. Fat don't fly, you know? Even when it comes, like, to jumping. Like, I was always a really good jumper, you know? I could dunk now, but I could dunk now. I'm the same height as I was back then in high school. Couldn't dunk. Now I can. Why is that? Like, I literally increased my vertical. I increased my vertical 3 inches from last year. Remember, I was at like 29 inches. Now I'm at like 32, if I remember correctly. It might be more. I would have to look at it. I have to look back at it. Every year in the fire department, we do this physical, and we test everything. Like our physical ability, like push-ups, vertical, arm strength, leg strength, like things like that. Like, we have machines to like measure it. But yeah, anyways, that's it for this video, y'all. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.